Welcome to Inside Out with Kris, a podcast where there are no limits or surface level conversations. I'm your host, Kris Burns, a personal development coach on a mission to empower women to move the needle in all areas of their lives. Each week, we dive into deep, thought-provoking conversations with inspiring guests. We're talking deep truths, raw experiences, and dropping game-changing takeaways to help you break free of the BS holding you back. Let's transform you from the inside out. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Lily Ritchie, a powerhouse in the fitness world who is making waves in her bodybuilding journey. She is also an online coach, podcast co-host, and just all-around beautiful human being. Lily is passionate about helping women unlock their potential through strength training, mindset work, and we're going to dive into her journey today. The realities of bodybuilding, I would love to know more on, and also how she balances all the things business and personal life. So welcome, Lily.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for
It's always weird being in the other seat.
Yeah.
In comparison, I'm normally the interviewer, not the interviewee. So the one to say. But I'm excited.
Well, I find you, like, your energy to be around is just so beautiful, and you have such an inspiring sort of journey that you share online in the online space, and I just love seeing like your content come up. Your content's always fucking phenomenal, and I'm just like, oh, she's so like empowering. It's just good to be around that energy.
Thank
I
you.
love having women like yourself on the podcast. So
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here then.
Yay. So I'm going to start you off with our question that is a little thought-provoke, which
Okay.
I'm asking everyone. What makes you feel most alive?
Alive. Oh, this is probably going to be like a bit, I don't know, not really like in tune with what I currently do, but honestly, like nature and like traveling.
Love.
I think that's what makes
Love
me
it.
feel most alive, because you're almost like the world is so much bigger than just like my little bubble. So the second I travel, go try new things, disconnected from like all social media and everything, I'm like, no, this is like truly actually living, and it's the best thing.
Love that so much. So tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to starting the career in the bodybuilding sort of industry and fitness and body comp and all the things.
Okay, so I went to school and university without the intention of the fitness world. Like that is not where my direction was heading. I went to university for commerce, studying in marketing and HR.
Wow.
Yep. So I had nothing to do with fitness. I grew up cheerleading, so that was my background. I've always been like a sporty kid. Like I was in athletics. I ran. I used to run a lot as well. So I've always been sporty, but never strength training, and bodybuilding was never a route that I was going to go down, let alone the fitness industry. So throughout COVID, I had a part-time marketing job from home, and it was all in the digital space, and it just was not what I had intended. I really wanted to go down more the social media avenue. This point in time, I didn't do social media either. I was just like a fun, normal account, as anyone does.
So that was like 2020.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, 2021 even. Yep.
Yeah.
I had no intention of doing what I am now. And then as I started going through that job, it just like was not for me. I was not lit up. I literally like would cry sitting there. I'd be like, I hate this so much. But sometimes you have to go through those periods to actually figure out what you want to do, because I literally thought that's exactly what I wanted to do. Landed in that field, absolutely not even close. Then I started getting more into fitness. I was approached by someone at the gym, a coach, saying you should compete. I'd finished my cheerleading career and started training in the gym a little bit more, kind of just like building that up. And I did love it, but I hadn't had a coach. I hadn't had any desire to compete. So as soon as you kind of brought that to my attention, I was like, oh, that'd actually be something cool, because I'm a very competitive person. So I really want to always like be better and like be in competitions and like beat people and all of those things. So I was like, that would be like a perfect opportunity for me to actually like keep living out that dream and that desire of mine. So I started with him throughout COVID, and that's when I also started my fitness page, and then Cert 3 on the side. So I was like starting to go down that fitness route while still doing marketing, and I knew I'd do body fit at the same time as well as marketing. As soon as I started body fit, I just like started falling in love with like group coaching, that fitness side, and then I ended up going full-time body fit and quitting my marketing job, like my corporate job. So that's kind of like how I started within the field, and then just like kept building it up from there. And my socials, I started posting more and more and more, and that kind of built up. And then I got my coach who I have now.
Yeah, phenomenal. And like I was just so shocked then, because you do have quite an engaged big community on social media. Like you've obviously got the podcast that you co-host with Tori, but like your social media is amazing, and you've done that in such a short period of time, and that is like so commendable. Like you've obviously shown up so vulnerably and authentically. Like no one's going to follow you unless you're fucking showing up as an authentic version of yourself. If you're just faking it and being nice and, you know, putting up just pretty pictures alone, it's not going to cut it. People need to know you, and you've obviously created that level of connection, so that's insane.
Yeah, I think especially in the bodybuilding space, a lot of people will just post their prep, or they'll just post like their show day and their show day vlogs and things like that. So it's really glamorized, where I show you my whole entire journey. So I show you my off season, and I know a lot of girls follow me for that because they know that competing isn't just 6 months of the year. It's this whole other year, which is even longer, where you're actually having to put on weight, you're having to grow and still keep that consistent routine. And people love that side of it. And I really try to show my audience like both sides to it.
Love that so much, and I want to explore that a little bit further shortly. But what I would also love to ask you is, what does a typical day look like for you? Like, and it's kind of where we're going with what you just said, but in terms of like for comp prep, how does it look? And then how does it change? Where's the polarity on the other side of that in that 6 months of off season?
Yeah, I actually filmed a day in the life video yesterday, or like a reel. And as I was editing it, I can't even say this is like a normal day in the life, because no day is normal. But then it's so like that is, I guess, the normality of it, that I'm always doing something different and something new. And that's definitely different to what it looks like in prep. A day in the life in prep is very much like you do the same thing day in, day out. Your autopilot is so switched on that you actually don't think, you just do. There's nothing that comes up that's like more of a priority. So in prep, it'd always be, I'd swap between the sleep in and walk in the morning. I think sometimes it's over glamorized, always getting up early and never like sleeping in. And sometimes it's actually so healthy to do that, especially throughout prep. Sleep is so important. So I'd swap between the two. Then I'm also a big reader in prep. So I would always like read my book in the morning or at night, just to be able to switch off a little bit more. Then it'd be breakfast, train, cardio, home, work, steps, sleep, eat, repeat. That's all I did. Basically day in, day out for 6 months.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, no, like it's not that bad.
I pretty much do, minus a few things. Got 4 kids, but like I pretty much do that anyway.
Exactly.
Just like amplified a little bit, Chrissy.
Yeah. But the best thing, honestly, about prep is you can use it as an excuse for a lot of things. So you can like, oh, I can't do that. I've got a train day. I can't do that. I've got to do this. People are so much more understanding, which is very different. Interesting in today's society. If you come up and say, oh, I can't do this because I don't want to, they're always going to pester you. If you have a reason why is you don't want to do something, like, oh, okay, I get it. And that's something that's really interesting throughout prep, is the second you have a goal, people understand your actions so much more than someone who's like, oh, I'm just doing it to feel good. People are like, oh, well, just come out then, like stop being silly. So that's something interesting as well. But then in comparison to now, I try to balance podcasting and online work as much as I can. It's definitely very difficult because online coaching is like my full-time income, and podcasting is starting after 2 years to make money now, but that actually takes up more of my time. So it's really hard to balance the both, like what brings you money, but what do you want to go full-time in? So that is what I'm balancing, plus social media and training on top of that.
Absolutely. And the consistency that you've got to create, like the podcast, as you would know as well, like it's not just jumping on the mic and having a chat and they're outsourcing someone to edit it. It's the content you've got to create leading into it. It's the sending of the videos. It's the emails, the making sure that you've got the show notes, like making sure everything's spot on, right? There's so much more to it than just simply having a little chat on a microphone.
Oh, so much more.
That's amazing that you're finally starting to monetize the podcast. Like that is incredible. So many women want to start a podcast in order to make money on it, right? It's something that I explored a while ago, and I did do like fine with it, but it just wasn't for me. And that has also allowed me to create space where if I don't record an episode, I'm not worried because I'm not making money from my podcast, if that makes sense, and that's not the goal for me. But so I can see why that would put a lot of pressure to be like, no, like I need to continue to show it, like this is going well now, like we're starting to see some success. And that's amazing because, as you know, like in the podcast space, you can make a lot of money from doing this. There's like...
you either make nothing or you make a lot. There's like, I don't know many people that are in that between. Like it's really hard. But now we have a beautiful like manager who helps us with the podcast. So now we actually have to pay her. So you actually have to make money through the podcast, or else it comes out of your own income. So that's also something we're balancing, is like you actually have no choice but to kind of go all in.
Sink or swim, baby.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love it. And that's like any business. It's like you can have a side hustle and be running a business. And if you're using the money from your actual like running of business to put into the side hustle, then you're kind of just losing money. And it just feels like, why am I doing this? Like you need to get rid of the business that you're not happy with and go sink or swim mentality with that side hustle if that's what you actually want.
Yeah, they always say sometimes you have to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
Like you literally have to kind of, or no, I wouldn't say like go broke, but you know how like sometimes you have to take that risk. You have to go all in or else it will not work and it will not grow if you keep doing the same thing every single day.
100%. One of the biggest lessons I think that I've had in business most recently is that I feel like I'm starting fresh again. Like I feel like I've just launched my business now. And it's like so silly. I've been in business for years and like ebbs and flows. I've had a great successful business in my coaching and I love my podcast, but I just feel like I'm kicking off now. I'm like, oh, it's starting again. Because everything's new and everything's different and the strategy is different and everything that we're doing is just so different to what I would have done 4 years ago.
That's the same with our podcast. I had it for 2.5 years now. I'm like, oh no, now we're starting.
Now
like,
it's getting started.
It's actually a podcast. It's not a hobby. It's like a job.
Yeah. Like when I was recording at my dining table with my newborn, like different vibes, man, to sitting here in the studio on the Gold Coast with you with the perfect lighting.
I was in my car with a mic on FaceTime tutorials how we start. Like that's not the same. We're not the same.
We're not the same version of ourselves. I'm just like, I could never. Like, no, I'm not doing that at home. I do it in studios. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, I love that so much. I think I can definitely resonate with your journey in podcasting. That's for sure. What do you feel like in terms of coming back to fitness and health? What are some misconceptions that you really feel like play out in the bodybuilding space, especially with female competitors?
So specifically in bodybuilding, I would say to get people sometimes think that it's like very unhealthy and they view bodybuilding as like really unhealthy, especially for females. And of course it's going to be in certain aspects, but it's only unhealthy, let's say more so mentally, if you let it be. A lot of people go into prep with the wrong frame of mind and they do it literally just get lean to get on stage and then they come out of the comp and they have the worst time of their lives and really struggle mentally. That is probably the biggest misconception is like that prep is toxic for your mindset and it's only going to be if you let it. And if you go on stage for the wrong reasons, a lot of the time you'll see people really struggle is when they literally do one comp and they're done because that comp is like their goal and they've done it rather than actually doing it for the sport, for the process. You have to enjoy the process more than the actual destination or else prep is not going to be necessarily for you. Another probably big misconception is it's very not a pretty sport. Like you see all the show glitz and glam, but the day you haven't seen the 6 months leading up. Like you literally probably look the worst you possibly ever have. And then you step on stage and you look beautiful. So
the ego.
Yeah, exactly.
I do, however, I feel like I would hate to be out the back where all those spray tanning machines are and stuff like that would be fucked. I'm like, ew, don't, like, that just feels gross to me.
No, the most wild thing is like when you get spray tan, like, because you're in like bikinis and everything, like no one actually, the spray tanning people think you actually don't care about like your body, but you tan next to girls naked. Like it's wild. So your tents are facing each other. So right now I'm butt naked, you're butt naked, and they're tanning you. And you have to stand there for like 15 minutes while you dry. Yeah. So coincidentally, I got one of my closest friends who's standing right there in front of me.
Butt naked?
Yeah.
I don't get naked for my tan lady.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind like boobs coming out.
And it's also like
whatever.
bend over type vibe.
Shit. Yeah, well, you do, don't you? Because you got to get the butt cheeks.
Because you got to get the butt cheeks. It's wild. So there's also other
fun.
little things. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's just firstly ludicrous and secondly just something that I never even really thought about. I just thought about how smelly and annoying it would be. Wow.
And even like another example, I finished my tan and my coach is like, oh, I need to do a check-in with you to see what you look like if we need more food for stage now. I'm like, I'm wet, I can't put my bikini on. She's like, that's okay, we'll just go to the bathroom and do a check-in naked. I'm like, okay. Like, you have no choice but to do that. So it's probably another little misconception. You don't know the little things.
Yeah, the little intricacies. Yeah. I think that my level of vulnerability and just ability to go whatever in situations like with pap smears and things like that has changed since having kids. Very much changed because you at one point you're just like, oh, the nurses are in here, like, oh, I use the sheet and cover myself, and then at the end you're just like, I don't give a fuck, just get this cunt out of me. Sorry, I said cunt on my podcast, everyone. Anyway, and you just get to a point where you're like, get out, like I don't care who's here. There was a point where I looked up from the, I don't know why we're going this direction. Sorry,
really just
where I looked up and there was like 15 people around me, and they're like, you've got this. I'm like, where did you all come from? But okay, let's go. Like everyone's all up in there, and you just lose. So like. Idea of standing naked even if I was the leanest and healthiest I've ever been in my life, that still feels like quite vulnerable, especially around people I know. I was cool around people I didn't know, and I was not in a state that was the best version of myself. But wow, I just don't know how I would go.
Bodybuilding really makes you detach from your body. So when example, on stage, you're literally like throughout society, especially these days, like don't compare your body to anyone else's. Like it's all about like your personality and what you're good at, your education. Bodybuilding is literally just what they look like. They don't care what you know, who you know. It's literally completely
Just
opposite.
what you look like.
Literally just what you look like. So you actually do have to take almost yourself out of your body because you know you've done absolutely everything and you're getting judged on what you look like. So you can't be too caught up in all of that.
It's like you have to put like your muscle groups onto a resume and like put a piece of paper and be like, okay, so I got a 0 out of 10 for my glutes, but I got a 10 out of 10 for this. Like, cool, tick, tick, tick. Like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I've never thought about it that way. Really interesting. Really interesting. Bodybuilding's always like intrigued me, and health and fitness is something I've been passionate about for a very long time. I've never taken that extra step to go and start that journey, right? But when I had my son, he was my first like our biological baby. When I had my son, we were getting married 16 weeks later. So we got engaged and then 2 weeks later fell pregnant. But I, of course, had gone and planned the entire wedding, paid for everything, got the dress, got like done. Life was done. And I was getting married a year later. But then I fell pregnant, of course. And I was like, can't possibly like do both. Like, what do you mean? Like, I was actually willing to let go of the child before it was the wedding. My husband's like, what do you mean? We're in a healthy, thriving relationship and we've got money. Like, we're 40. Why would you want to get rid of the kid? Anyway, that was just my panic state about my dress because I wanted to look a certain way on my wedding day.
It's been your dream for a life longer. Like, that's the only time you're ever going to do it.
And this dress was fitted. Like, I bought the dress based on losing a little bit more weight, right? Anyway, I had this coach I was working with at the time. Don't recommend that anyone ever goes and does this. It was a bit of a fuck fest in my head mentally, but she essentially treated me like a comp prep client for that 16 weeks, and we got the result. But on my wedding day, I was not allowed to drink water. It had to be sipped out of the lid cap, right? I had to get up at 4 a.m. on my wedding morning and have fish and broccoli, and then that's it. Wasn't allowed another thing, and then sip the water. And I'm sure that there's different ways of doing things now, right, in the body comp world. This was 6 years ago. But I got to the point where champers started getting served after the married pit, and I got blotto. No memory. None of the photos. We got one photo with my husband, told him to go away. I was like, go play, go away. And then I just did this cocky, confident photo shoot on my own. No memory.
You wouldn't have, because you would have been so lean and like...
Blotto.
And especially not having any food in your system.
None. I was fucked.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So don't do the result you wanted, so...
Got the result I wanted, right? So I've only had that experience. Like, that's the closest I've come to it. But I always admire women like you who are dedicating themselves to this sport because it is a sport. And there was a time when it wasn't a sport. And I love that young girls are coming out of high school, even in high school, and so you're seeing these girls coming into the gym. My 2 stepdaughters have trained with me in like commercial gyms. They've had PTs. Like, they know how to do a shoulder press. They know how to do a fucking squat with a barbell. Like, and they're 13 and 14. And for me, I wish I knew that at that age. Like, I wish this was more acceptable, right? Like, stepping out of high school, because body image has always been a problem, and health and fitness is something that I found later. And I think it's so empowering to have women like you in the online space, and like, you're obviously on TikTok as well as Instagram. I follow your Instagram because I'm an Instagram girly. But my kids are on TikTok, and just to know that they might scroll and see someone like you and they can be influenced by someone as positive and empowering as you, rather than someone that, I don't know, you got other influencers online that aren't very positive and they're kind of quite false and not themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to actually like show all sides of the gym. And it's like, yes, I can be absolutely switched on, and I want people to know that they can be disciplined, they can have that willpower, but equally you can also have balance and enjoy your life. Like, I went to Europe last year for a whole month and I didn't train at all, got home and got straight back into it. So I really try to put a good image online that I can do both. Same as prep. I know I get a lot of girls being like, how do you do everything in prep? Because I make sure the first half is a little bit different, but I traveled to Melbourne multiple times. I went to concerts. I went to a New Year's Eve festival, dead sober. Like, you can do all of these things that you enjoy. Your life doesn't stop when prep starts. And that's what I really try to push as well, because a lot of people have a toxic mindset. Oh, I absolutely cannot do anything for 6 months straight. But you can. It's just dependent on what you want. And I think that's why I have such a healthy relationship with bodybuilding and fitness in general, is because I do have such a balanced approach.
Yeah, and you can see, like, you look so healthy. Like, you just look so healthy. You don't look like you've gotten like blown out or made yourself really unwell, and then you have to go into this like body dysmorphic sort of attitude and mindset around the training regime kind of thing and just go all in and then nothing. Like there's a happy medium for you and you can really see that.
Yep.
So do you drink normally? Like do you have alcohol?
Yes, I do.
Cool.
So I do like to drink alcohol. Like some people like don't. For example, my close friend Tori, like she does not drink alcohol like ever. But I do enjoy it. However, I won't have it like very often. If we're going out for dinner, I'll always have like a cocktail or two or wine. Love it. I'll get like drunk 3 to 4 times a year. But then I just like know like leading up a few weeks ago, I got like had a few drinks with dinner and went out after. Tomorrow it was like my close friend's birthday and I'm just like, oh yeah, I don't want to drink. So I won't.
Great.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's just like I do what I want to do at that time.
Yeah. My coach at the moment, she's always just reminds me like alcohol's just empty calories. Like you can drink it, but you're just going to get inflamed from it and there's no advantage. Like unless, and if it's the advantage is you having a nice time, cool, do that. But like just be aware, like the yummy drink is not going to advance you in any possible way.
I'll always have like Coke, no sugar instead in my hand. Like it's not the bestest option, but it's what I enjoy and it's not going to make me as inflamed and I always hold something.
I've just got back on the gin and tonics because I've been cocktail heaven lately. I've been traveling so much for work and I normally stay in Brizzy when I'm up there at the Carlisle and the restaurants, mate, the cocktails are really good. They're really cool good. And pretty.
Yeah,
and I like the pretty thing and I see one go to another table. I'm like, oh, I'll try that one too. Next minute, I'm 600 calories deep into cocktails and it's like, that was pointless. I'm not drunk. I'm going home to bed. That was just like a waste. So just cleaning the back up a tiny little bit back on the gin and tonics.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that.
Yeah, and I love red wine too, which is a problem.
Red wine. Okay, I'm on the white wine.
Yeah, I didn't drink wine. And I said this yesterday on another podcast actually, but I did not drink wine until I had a craving for white wine when I was pregnant with Lola.
That's so interesting.
So interesting. And I had to have it every day. I had it every day throughout my entire pregnancy.
Wow.
Sauv Blanc with ice cubes in it. Had
Wow.
to. Never drank wine beforehand. I used to go on wine tours and have vodka. Like I was not a wine girl.
That's so interesting that came up for you.
So
They always
weird.
say like every person craves something specific and they have to have it.
Had to. From 6 a.m. I'm like, I'd fucking hanging. Like I need it. And I'd feel sick until I had it.
Wow.
Yeah. My husband was like, you're an alcoholic. I'm like, no, this is and as soon as she came out of me, I didn't crave it. But I drank wine. Like that was my drink of choice. And then I went to red and I liked red. I'm like, the fuck? My daughter just created my taste buds. Like, what? Anyway, we're just going on a tangent here. What is your philosophy when it comes to how you coach women?
Okay. Every single client is so different and needs a different coaching approach. And that's what I really try. I have some clients I'm a lot harder with and some clients I'm a lot more lenient with. And I know that as like I'm a client myself, like I have a coach for over 3 years now. I know that she coaches me differently than how she coaches other clients because she also mentors me how to coach clients. So I see her coach every single person differently. And that is something I really value because that just comes down to like it's not a stock standard approach. Everyone needs something different to actually get the results. So I think that is honestly the most important thing because at the end of the day, every coach knows the exact same thing. Everyone knows how to get results. Everyone knows how to get a client from A to B, but it's actually how the client connects with the coach. That's the most important thing. So I would say like that's my overall thing that I value to be a coach is I have to actually connect with the client and give what they need. At the end of the day, also, I know what's best for them. So a lot of the time, girls will come to me and they'll be like, I really want to go on a dieting phase and it's the worst possible thing they can do. So I'll educate them as to why. I think that's a very important part too is to actually educate the client because they're not going to be with you forever. So you don't want them to go away from you not learning anything. So I'll always try to not give my girls meal plan straight away because I'm like, no, learn how to track, learn how to fuel your body, then we can go into a meal plan and then we can even adjust from there because it's so important to educate so then they know how to take it away with them.
I love that approach so much, tracking something that I just can't seem to get a hold of consistency with or I'm choosing not to be disciplined in it, right? I'm cautious of my language there, but I've done it half a dozen times over the last decade. And I always go into it pretty strong and I'm just like, this is so annoying, I don't want to do it anymore. Like I get so annoyed with the weighing of the things and whatever, but it is so handy to know what you're putting in your body and it absolutely fucking gets results. So if you're not getting, like if you don't know how to do it and you're not integrating it and embodying it from a place that comes with seamlessness and ease, then of course it's going to be resistant like for you, which is for me. So maybe I need to learn how to do it better.
No, but it's even going from like, let's say right now, if things are like a few grams over or under, like I won't like stress too much. Like it's not going to make a difference right now. But in prep, you have to be like by the specific gram. And I do know it takes a little bit for me to get that annoyance out of my system to be like, oh my gosh, like put some more in, take some more out, put some more in, take some more out. Yeah. But then when you're in prep, you don't even think twice about it. But it takes a few weeks to build that habit back up and then you're good to go. It's always the start of doing a habit is the hardest thing ever.
Oh, yeah, this is true. This is absolutely true. I love that so much, though. I think that's a really great way to work with clients. And I also love how you said that no two clients are the same and that you are very specific with each person as an individual. That's also how I operate with my coaching and my mentorship. I think proximity is everything, and there's a reason that I started out going in the coaching space like, oh, I'll do masterclasses and I'll do group containers like a lot of people do, and then I was just like, why? I don't want to coach that way. I don't want to say you're all this, you're all that. And it's a huge generalization when you're teaching something because it's like, no, that person, how they've applied it in their life is completely different to the next. So that's something that I really embody in my work as well. So I love that you do that.
That's so important what you said is like you tried doing masterclasses because everyone else was doing it, right? Same with me, I guess. Like I have never ran a challenge myself through my coaching. I've like tried to put it together. I'm just like, this is actually not what I want. I don't want an influx of girls coming in. I don't have the capacity for it, and it's not something I'm wanting to do. I love that closer work. And then we'll run way larger scale challenges through the Raw Reality page and that big group, because that's not to get results in terms of physically, that's actually more so to get mindset results and actually long-lasting change. And there's a difference. If you go to a coach, it's physical, but if you also go to a podcast, it's more educational.
Yes.
So I think that's why I really am drawn to doing stuff through the podcast and individual coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I just think that my clients get the results that they do because of the one-on-one style of coaching that we have. Like, I know them so well. I know when they lie. I know when their story's not 100% truthful. I know where they're drawing information from. I know when their husband was mean to them. I know because I know them, and that's so important. You can't get to know people in that group capacity in the same through that same lens. So I think that's very similar. I would love to know, kind of a big generalization in this question, but what does motivation mean to you?
Okay. Motivation is very much like instant. I'm going to go more so like instant gratification, right? It's very much like I've seen something, I want to get there, right now. I'm so excited to do it right just today, not tomorrow, like right today. I'm so excited, and that's not going to last very long. You definitely can be motivated to get to your goals, and it's going to go up and down. Some days you want to do something, some days you don't. But motivation is very much like an instantaneous thing. It's like right here, right now. But I think you can be motivated to achieve your goals long term, but that's just like discipline at the end of the day. Like you're so disciplined to achieve your results. You're not motivated to do so. I think motivated is very loosely used these days. I wouldn't say I'm actually motivated to train ever. I'm just very disciplined in my training, and that's what I do. So I would say it's very much like right here, right now.
Yeah, I'm down to at the moment having the ability to go to the gym to do classes 3 times a week, and because we were talking earlier about my dog, but my dog, she needs to be walked every day, and my husband and I take turns, and I can't walk her when any other dogs are out, so I have to walk her at 4 a.m, and that's twice a week is my term. So anyway, that just means I can't go to the gym at the moment because she pulls and doesn't hate other dogs. No, she kind of hates other dogs. Anyway, I have a lack, like, so for me going those 3 times, I'm fucking pumped. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get to the gym. But if I was doing the 6 days or the 7 days or however much you're training, like that regime where it is that little more bit more structured, there is more routine and there is more commitment and drive that you have to get the end result and to stay consistent to compete in your sport too. That dedication needs discipline. Like
it does.
It really does. I can't say that I would have that level of discipline right now. Like, and it's obvious that, the discipline, that's something you need to train in. Like
that's what it is. It builds up over time. The very start of prep is very different to the very end of prep.
Yeah.
I don't think I could jump in and do the end of prep straight away. There's no way in hell, because it's building up that discipline. It's building up that like willpower. Your cardio only starts off with like 3 15-minute sessions a week. Then week by week it builds, just like with habit and discipline. And then by the end of the 20 weeks, you're doing it like an hour a day. So it's like built up small little things, and I don't think it's just applied to bodybuilding. It's literally applied to everywhere in your life. If you go from 0 to 100, you're not going to be able to do it. But if you do these little habits now and then, it's going to build up that discipline to, let's say in 6 months' time, it's going to be so easy for you to just do that.
Do you think someone could train 3 times a week and just focus on their macros to get a result in bodybuilding?
In bodybuilding? No. It's not enough.
Yeah.
I've recently dropped down to 4 training sessions a week. for my whole entire career so far, I've done like 5 sessions, and I'm now at a point where work is like super busy and I'm not recovering at all. My stress is like really high at the moment, and it's like coming out in my physique. Like I'm not progressing and I'm plateauing and going backwards in my lifts. So this is where it's actually okay. Me and my coach have decided dropping back a training session is going to be smarter. I'm going to have more time to work, more time to recover. But those 4 training sessions, their volume has increased and like the intensity has increased to be able to get the results. But I think 3 is a great to maintain, but you have to do more than 3 to actually grow muscle.
You guys went over to the US recently.
Yes.
Did you notice that there's a difference between the Australian bodybuilding community and the American?
100%. Americans love each other. Like they're very friendly, I find.
Okay.
Personally, like they always approach you. Everyone's really nice. Everyone has the same passion. But everyone wants to be the best over there. So to be the best, you have to beat the best. Everyone trains so much harder. Everyone's way more disciplined. Everyone's way more on in America, I would say, in comparison to Australia.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
I think there's so many more people in America. So naturally, the standard's just better across the board. And Americans are known to, like, I would guess you would say, like, be the best at everything. So they're almost, like, built from a very young age to be the best. In Australia, it's very imposter syndrome. We're not told, we're always told, like, okay, play small. Like, it's okay if you don't win. It's okay if you lose. Like, in America, it's like, oh, you didn't win. Like, you've got to try harder.
There's no losing, there's only learning.
Yes. Yes. But I would definitely say, like, in America, the whole culture is, like, to be the absolute best you can be. And, yes, that comes out in Australia, but in America, it's on, like, steroids. Like, it's so much more.
Landed. Oh, that's so interesting. What was your favourite thing about the US? This isn't written down. I'm just curious.
No.
We're going to Vegas in May.
Everything is just, you're going to have so much fun. Everything's just bigger and better.
Bigger and better.
It's very similar to what I said about the people. Like, everything is just so cool. And I love that the movies literally translate to America.
Really?
Like, what you see, my friend Emma came with us, and it was the very, very first time she's been to America. And she's like, oh my gosh, like the yellow school buses. I'm like, yeah. Like, it's like everything in the movies is like what it is in real life. It's cool.
Yeah, well, I definitely didn't question the school buses, but that's interesting.
The food is like, the portion size is insane. Like, we got a large, you're going to love it. We got a large coffee, and I'm like, I actually have to go down to a medium because a medium is our Australian large, like jumbo size. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, coffee's in my veins. I'm here for that. Pump it into me. For anyone starting out in their strength journey, or maybe even thinking about bodybuilding, what advice would you give to someone to be confident and consistent?
Start small. Start very small and build up from there. You don't have to be the best possible version like right now. Literally take it slow, take it easy, and build up your confidence. I think you do need to go into actually like trying and putting yourself out there. A lot of people just go to the gym and they're like, oh, like I've done like my 3 sessions, why aren't I seeing results? And it's also because you're not training, you're just exercising. There's a very big difference between exercise and training, and majority of the clients that come to me, they're training 3 times a week. They've been training for 2 years, but they're not getting results. The reason is they send me form videos. I'm like, dude, that was a warm-up set and that was your final set. Like, you're not actually going to achieve results. Girls just starting in the gym, they don't realize how hard they actually need to train to achieve results. Kind of going back earlier what we said about a misconception is girls think if they train with weights, they're just going to get bulky or super muscly. Like, it literally takes years and years to actually achieve that. So if you even just want to get, like, I guess, quote-unquote toned, you have to try so much harder. You're not doing enough.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I signed up to a gym in Newcastle, Club 94. I'm sure the owners will be listening. And that was at the start of the year. And it's the first time in a very long time that I have seen transformative results in my strength and my ability to raise the bar and the standard for myself in terms of weights. And like the coaches, like shout out to all of the women there. It's a women's only gym, which I just love. It's so encouraging. It's so motivating. And like even when and this is why I go to a place like this, like even when I try and get away with something like, oh, I'll just go light today, like no one's gonna, whatever, no one's going to notice. Or I think it's enough. I'll have someone go, oi, what are you doing? What's that? Like, and I'm just like, what? What do you mean? They're like, you can do more than that. What are you doing? And I love that. Yeah. I genuinely leave going like, oh, yeah, that like keeps me kind of happy and motivated and craving and desiring to go back. Yeah. When no one gives a fuck and no one's noticing, that's when I'm just like, oh, they don't care if I'm not there. So if I book a class, I don't care if I don't show up. But they're like, where were you? What are you doing?
Well, humans are naturally motivated by progress. So the more you see yourself progress, the more you're going to want to do something. So when you actually start seeing results, you'll be like, oh, okay, that actually worked. I'm going to lift heavier. I'm going to train harder. I'm going to eat more food because that's going to help me. So when you actually realize what you're doing is helping, you're just going to do that more and more and more.
Love it. Love it so much. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I do have one more question that I want to fire off to you. Okay. You have one day to live. What are you changing?
Oh, what am I changing? I thought you were going to say, what am I doing?
No, what are you changing?
Okay. With myself, with the world?
You decide.
Okay. What am I changing?
Trust the answer. Whatever comes up's the right one. What are you changing?
Okay, it's my last day to live. I'm changing. This is going to be so contradictory to like literally my life, but like where I live because I'm so far away from my family. So I would change and I would like be with my family. Yeah. Especially if it's like the last day, last week, I'd want to be close to them. I don't see them enough at all. Yeah. So it's a bit of a deep answer. No, but yeah, I would say. It's a deep question. Yeah, I would say that.
I love that answer. Everyone's had a different one and I freaking love it so much because I just feel like it's a great thought-provoking way to think about, like, where am I at actually? Like, what can I actually change right now? And that could be a bit of a connection call with the fam this afternoon.
Yeah, well, I'm going there. Oh, no, for Christmas. I was going to say soon, but for Christmas.
Yeah, it's still soon.
But so interesting because I couldn't think of one until like, no, what's the first thing that comes up? And I was like, okay, that.
Family.
Oh, I wasn't going to say that, but yeah.
Totally.
Well, thank you.
I love that so much. Well, thank you again for coming on the pod. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. For anyone who lives under a rock and doesn't know who you are, where can they find you?
I'm Fit with Lily on Instagram and TikTok. Lily is just with LILYY. And then I have a podcast with my best friend Tori. It's called The Raw Reality Podcast.
Great.
Had it for a few years now. And yeah, go listen to that because Kris has been on a few episodes too.
Yes.
So go listen to her talk.
Yeah, I'm going to put all of the deets in the show notes of the episode. So guys, you can definitely go and check all of Lily's info and taglines out. Thank you again, Lil.
Thank you for having me.
Yay,
amazing.
Finished. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If this landed for you, I would love if you can share this conversation to your socials and don't forget to tag at Inside Out with Kris. Don't also forget to hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss next week's conversation. Bye.